in Schmooze, where each week we discuss a book that has piqued our interest. This week we are finishing up with the A Court of Thorns and Roses series with the final book, A Court of Silver Flames, which is my personal favorite. So we will go ahead and jump right in. Sunny, what were those notes that you took?
So the beginning of the notes, we start at the prologue, and the prologue is Nesta like recounting her time in which she was in the cauldron, and she describes seeing like darkness and fire, and she like bit a chunk of the cauldron out with her bare teeth. She did that, like she's an animal. And so there's like four parts in the book. The first part is called Novice, and we start off the book pretty rocky. Like Nesta is, she's been bitter. She hasn't gotten any better. In fact, she like runs up a tab at the bars and like sends the bill over to Reese and Feyre. So they're like paying for all of her binging and like terrible spending habits, which isn't very, she doesn't spend money just at the bar. She lives in this rundown apartment with like the bare minimum. And she has guys over all the time, and they like, but like she's coping, but it's not healthy. It's I don't even know if I want to call it coping anymore at this point, because she was just destroying
I
herself.
think it's definitely a form of just self-destruction. Like, she's just very self-destructive right now. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of that has to do with, as you kind of learn more about her character, she just puts so much pressure on herself. And I wonder
Hmm.
if that's because of her mom. Because you notice how, like, when you start to get a little background on her mom, Elaine was like, no, Nesta was our mother's creature. Or no,
Yeah.
it wasn't Elaine that said that. Nesta said that. She was like, I was my mother's creature.
Hmm.
Both Elaine and Feyre were more of like daddy's girls,
Yeah.
and her mother just used her as a tool. That's
Yes.
she
Yeah,
wielded
very
her as
much.
a weapon, and I think that that's a lot to kind of break down because Elaine was kind of shielded from that. She both Elaine and Feyre were shielded from that, and having a toxic parent like their mom, that is also a lot of trauma to have to kind of undo. So
Hmm. Hmm.
she's very self-destructive, and it was kind of hard to watch because like especially in the very beginning, like Cassian's like reaching out his hand and trying to be because he's got a big old crush on her, and
Hmm.
she is just vicious. She's
Yeah.
so mean. Oh my
Yeah.
god, she's so mean.
She's god awful.
But he's so unfazed by it. Like, he's just so used to being told that anyway. But for some reason, he understands with her. And I really like that because in the whole book, he and Feyre are the ones that get her.
Yes.
Because shout out to
Yes.
Feyre because, Nesta may treat Feyre like shit because it's definitely a self-destruction thing. Feyre gets it. And Feyre's
She
like,
just
no,
gets
I
it.
know that she is really, like, mean to me, but, like, I just, I get it. I take it with a grain of salt. And her and Cassian just get it.
No, Cassian, okay, Cassian needs a shirt that says, "Don't bully me or I'll come." That's Cassian and Nesta. He,
It's so true.
every time she gets feisty, he's like, "Oh my God, stop." Oh my God. It's so
No, he's,
funny.
like, starting to blush. And I'm like, she's
Yeah.
so mean. He's like, that's hot.
Yeah.
Be mean.
Yeah, no, for real. I love that about them. Their relationship is just, it's funny. It's as funny as it is sexy.
It's a
They're a good
This book
duo.
was pretty sexy. I will say that. I
Oh my
really
God.
This one made me like blush and like sweat a little. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, chill."
Made your pussy throw up, like
Oh
for
my god.
real.
It was yeah, this just really escalated compared to all the other ones too. This one is very smutty.
Yes, and I
Um
like it, and it's sprinkled out through here
it
and there.
felt
It's
more
and,
adult too.
yes, it.
I
Ooh, it
like
definitely
I've said in
did.
the other ones, I feel like it. this one, they have a more adult relationship, and I know that he's still like 600 years old as well, and she's
Mm-hmm.
25, but she feels older than Feyre, and
Yeah.
it feels like a more mature relationship and more realistic. Like the back and forth and the miscommunication that they have throughout the whole thing, where she's like, where she's like, it's just sex. We're not gonna be in a
Right.
relationship, but like he leaves right after, and she's like, did you hate it? Like, they don't communicate,
She was like, well, are we, she was like, I thought we were going to cuddle at least a little bit.
yeah, and just the back and forth with their communication was, it just felt more
Yeah.
realistic. I was like, yeah, this is something I think we've all like experienced.
Hmm.
I need to talk about Mrs. Math, and her, you've mentioned this before. Um, what is up with the like all the males have like Lysol can size dicks?
I wrote something about that. Listen, I wrote and I was like, dude, not everyone has to have a big fucking dong. Everyone in this book,
Not a
she's like,
Lysol can,
what I know, and okay. She can barely wrap her fucking hand around it.
but
That's how
it
she
but it goes
describes
in
it.
her mouth. That's graphic. Anyway, I'm just like, how? Because I kind of struggle taking a bite of a double cheeseburger. Like,
Yeah.
who's wrapping their mouth
No.
around a fucking Lysol can?
This woman
Not
unhinged her
I.
jaw
Not
like a
most
fucking
people.
snake. Yeah.
Is it the girls that can put their whole fist in their mouth?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
then, that's smaller than a Lysol can.
Right. And and to any men who are ever, if they listen, whatever, just a small message for you. It is not the size of the wave, but the motion of the ocean. You don't have to have a 2 foot long dick. First of all, that shit hurts. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. But
It's not the size of the wave, it's the motion of the ocean.
yes, that is what I wrote. Hmm.
Oh, golden. It's true
Yeah.
though. Like, I'm so, don't come at me with a Lysol can. Mm-mm. I don't
I'm gonna
know.
be
Like,
running
it's
away
great in
scared.
the book, reading the fantasy novel. It's like, oh, that's spicy.
Hmm.
Realistically, no.
Yeah. No, she very idealizes that. But I think
No,
I just
we're not doing the Lysol cans.
yeah.
They don't even use lube, so I don't know
Oh,
about that. I don't know about that.
I question the safety of it actually.
Um,
Well, but
but
Cassian is also very gentle. He's like, "Oh, I don't want to hurt you," and she's just like, "Go, go."
yeah, she's a monster.
Yeah,
Good for
she's a
her.
fiend. Love that. Dude, like the first chapter, like their first flirty scene, she pushes him against the wall. And I'm like,
No.
I-
I love their
Nesta,
back and forth.
I wish I could be. Oh, she is so bold. She is so
I
brave.
love when they go to the Court of Nightmares and she has to dance with Eris.
Yeah, yeah.
She knows
Tell
she's
me
hot
more.
shit. And then he's like, he goes up
Oh,
to like Reese and Feyre and he's like, I want to marry her. And Feyre's
yeah.
like, after one dance,
Yeah. No, she knew she ate that shit up. She did her job and she did it well.
yeah, she did. You know what Elaine was
Yeah.
doing? Nothing.
As per usual.
Not
As per
shit.
usual.
Not
Not
shit.
shit.
This
So,
is not at all related, but the very first page, like the decorative page of this book, has a really nice texture, and I keep touching it.
like with the map on it?
No, the this part, just the
Oh,
very.
word?
I don't know why I'm like over here petting it, like it's got really nice texture. Hmm.
Oh god.
My sensory
I take
issues are
this
kicking in this
also
morning.
isn't it's not relevant, but when I have like a hardcover book with like a sleeve that comes off, I take the sleeve
Oh,
off and put it somewhere safe and
I
then
do
read the
not
book.
read with the sleeve on. There's no way.
I I can't do
I
that. I
prefer
simply can't.
paperback books for that reason, though.
Oh yeah, I get
I
it.
just like they're. I don't know. I like to. they're easier for me to deal with.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna rebuy the paperback version of this because
Absolutely.
it's like a $30
But
book.
the paperback version is so pretty.
I know.
I want it just for the cover. Like, anyway.
I know, it's so tempting.
Yes. I wanted to talk about really quick. So there's a part where Nesta and Cassian. Okay, so first of all, Nesta is sent to the House of Wind, as like a not a I guess a punishment. So like they can keep an eye on her. So she can't leave the House of Wind. There's like 10,000 stairs she has to go down, and she's not. She can't do that right now.
I don't think I could do that.
So Cassian's like trying to get her to eat, and she hasn't eaten yet at this point, and she refuses. And Cassian goes, "Not eating won't bring your dad back." And I was like, oh my God, you can't just say that to a woman who lost her dad. It was at this point, I want to say it's
Nesta,
like,
though. And that was kind of, I feel like the whole time I was like, everybody's being so hard on her, but I think you have to kind of push her. To a certain point, though, because, like, you push her too far and she just, like, doubles down. She's really bad about doubling down.
Cassian knows that, though. And he does. He does push her.
He pushes her the right amount while still reaching out his hand. And I loved it the whole time before, because part of her punishment was to train with Cassian. And Airman's just like, keep reaching out your hand. And finally it dawns on him that she doesn't want to train in front of people up in the Illyrian Mountains. She wants like a private area. And he was like, oh. And it worked. And I was like, see, I wouldn't want to do that either.
Dude, I know, but he just knew that. He put that together without no one. He just did that. He knew.
I love when he defends her, because this whole book, everybody is so pissed off at her. And I get it. Like, she really is vicious. She can be. But, like,
she's not pleasant.
Just don't allot her the patience or understanding that they do Elaine. And I get that Elaine, like, snapped out of her funk a little bit quicker, but she didn't do shit to help anybody. So, like, I'm not invalidating Elaine's trauma. I'm just saying that they're really not being understanding or patient with Nesta's trauma. Except for Feyre. And except for I personally felt attacked when they all, like, held the intervention to throw her up in the House of Wind. I would also feel attacked in that situation. But I do think it was necessary.
Absolutely. And she definitely needed an intervention, because at this point she was like withering away. And you can't just, Feyre couldn't watch her do that anymore. So
I didn't like that. Kind of towards the end of the book, I felt like she wasn't allowed to drink, and she wasn't an alcoholic to me. I get that she was, like, you know, out drinking and partying to kind of, like, deal with the pain, but she, you know, was more interested in the music and just a distraction. I think when she was better, I didn't feel like she would, like, abuse alcohol. She didn't strike me as, like, an alcoholic.
Okay.
And so I don't know, I felt like, I was like, why can't she drink now? I don't know. I felt a little weird about that. Like, it just felt like a weird punishment to me. I don't know how to describe that. So.
Personally, I kind of did see her like an alcoholic. She was just doing that every night. Running up a tab. That's, you know, excessive. That's just...
I mean, I get it at first. I just think later on, I'm like, can she not have wine now? Maybe she doesn't
just
want
a taste.
I don't know. She said she didn't want it at that point, so maybe.
Yeah. Well, so the house is, like, not cursed. The house knows not to have alcohol if she's in the room. So, like, if she's out of the room, you can have alcohol. But, like, as soon as she walks in... Okay, so Cassian was sitting in the dining room with a glass of wine in front of him, and as soon as she walked in, it disappears. Like, the house is just... It can't. And then she was like, well, I'm not a fucking animal. I'm not gonna fucking lunge for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, she's fine.
I just really felt like they
at that point.
Boy, I think the whole book for me felt like everybody was really trying to mold her into someone that she was not.
I get it.
And I
Yeah.
feel like, aside from Feyre and Cassian, they were the only ones that just accept her for the way that she is. Like, Cassian will take her vicious or not. He does not care. But and Gwen liked that she didn't baby her or feel sorry for her, you know? And Gwen is precious. And so is
We
everybody.
love Gwen.
Those girls are great. Like, there's a reason why they're friends. It's wonderful. Taking them out for a second, though, everybody else, I don't know. I feel like, and I heard somebody else say this because I was watching some videos, and somebody else mentioned that they're just like, her character took such a hard, like, left. Like, she just wasn't the same person by the end of it. And I could see that. It feels like she was almost, like, forced to be, like, too warm and friendly by the end of it. And I don't think that that's really fair because she's not a bad person. She doesn't have, like, malicious intent. She is spicy and she is a little vicious, but, like, she does care. And I think that she steps up to the plate when absolutely necessary. But I think that she gets misunderstood when she's, like, forced to do something and she's not given a choice. Because as big as Rhys is on choices, I don't feel like Nesta gets a whole lot of choices.
He doesn't like Nesta, and that's why.
She's kind of thrown into shit. And she's thrown into all of this because of Feyre. So I understand that Feyre kept them from starving and whatnot. And we love Feyre. She's great. And, you know, she did her best. But her sisters got thrown into all of this because of her. So, I'm just like, cut her a little break.
Yeah, cut her some slack.
I like that she's mean.
I get it. I would be, probably, I don't know to that extent, but I would too.
Because, like, you can be mean
if I were in her
not
shoes.
a bad person. There's a difference. Like, Nesta's not a bad person.
No. So she just needed her time. And the experiences that she went through in the book is what helped her get to that point.
Absolutely.
And I really loved seeing her warm up, though. Like, she isn't a completely different person. She's just a softer version of herself. And that's because, like, she was able to work through her trauma and, like, find inner peace through training and her friends and all that. So
I loved her training to be a Valkyrie. I love that she came up with that and it gave her a project and a purpose and she threw herself into that. I loved that part. That was an interesting turn for her character because you wouldn't assume that Nesta was going to become a warrior. Like, you wouldn't pick that. And I love that she threw herself into that and she really cared about getting the other priestesses into it and it became a woman-run thing. And I loved that for her. I wanted to go toe-to-toe with Rhys when he was like, now don't be mean to these priestesses. I was insulted for her.
Yeah, he does not expect anything. He has the lowest expectations of her. And, he just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
And I love that Cassian defended her on that, because, like, Rhys was a dick in this book. I'm sorry. He was a dick in this book.
He was a dick and a coward.
It was weird. If anybody had a weird, like, turning point for their character, it was Rhysand in this book. I don't know who this man was, but it was not the Rhysand that we read the past 3 books. I was like, who is this? I didn't like him in this one.
No, and I personally think she did that maybe on purpose because she wanted to stress the fact, kind of like how they have, like, animalistic tendencies and how Farrah's pregnant. And, like, he is just, like,
that is
has to do whatever he can at any cost.
Books, so, like, I could see that because in Throne of Glass, they're very animalistic, which I'm not a huge fan of because I'm like,
I get it, me too.
Down. of it. That's a little, I don't know, that's a little wonky for me personally. I
Yeah,
guess, but man, Reese was a dick in this book. Holy hell. He
he
just,
was.
man. And
You
as
know,
somebody who, like, always gives everybody choices, to not tell Feyre that she's going to die from the pregnancy,
hmm
and
hmm
excuse me?
Yeah, no, she was fully convinced it was just gonna be like no big deal. But like it's and like also they made a death pact at the end of like the last book or whatever
Yeah.
that if one of them dies, they both die. And he just wasn't gonna tell her about that.
I was like, you
Motherfucker.
should tell her. Um,
It's her. Okay, now I'm
it's her
I'm not
body.
gonna I'm not
It's,
I wasn't gonna get into it. That
well,
is her body.
it
It's
is
her
her. Well,
body.
either way, by doing that, he's taking away her bodily autonomy. I'm gonna say it because he
Yes.
is.
By all
You
means.
need to tell
Yes.
her, and
Yes.
then come to a decision together. But
Mhm.
she needs. You can't just make that decision for her by not telling her, by omitting the information. You are making a decision for her, and that is not fair.
Mhm.
Like, it needs to be a
Yeah.
decision, either hers or both of them. And I thought that that was
Yeah.
really weird. That was not on par with his character.
I agree.
So I was thrown off personally. I was like, who is this? And I know the part where Nesta gets pissed off because she accidentally forged that sword
Mhm.
and made another trove,
Mhm.
which good for her because she's
Love
badass.
that. Bad
Um,
bitch.
they had taken that vote on whether or not they were going to give it to her, and Amryn voted against her. Um,
Amber and Reese did.
Amryn and Reese, but shout out to Azriel and Cassian for both being like, no, that's hers. Like,
Mhm.
Azriel also shows up for Nesta, and I love that.
Yes. Yes.
He's
Well,
very unproblematic. But, like, she
that's
gets
true.
pissed off because she finds out that Amryn voted against her, and Amryn has a tendency to get on her high horse, and I
That's
love that, like, Morrigan especially will knock her down a few pegs.
mhm.
Um, and I get why Nesta was hurt, and, like, she takes off, and she decides to, like, tell Feyre that they all know about the pregnancy, but Feyre's the only one that doesn't, which is also completely unacceptable. That is a
Yeah.
private matter, and everyone else knows except for the person that's going to have the baby. Excuse me?
Mhm.
Um, and I get that, like, and Feyre says it, she's like, I know that her intention was originally to kind of, like, hurt me the way that she was hurt, but also at least she told me.
Yes.
Because no one else
Mhm.
did. And so, like,
Mhm.
Nessa's intentions were a little mixed there. Um, I actually would have liked it if she would have been a little bit more mad at when she first found out and would have told Feyre sooner. I don't know why. Because if I found out and I knew that, I'm like, oh, is nobody going to tell her? Like, we all know but her? I'd be pissed.
Mhm.
Um, and then, like,
Mhm.
Reese forces her out of the city, and then she and Cassian go on that hike, which was great. But I felt really, I was hurt for her. I was like, hold on a second. That's not that big of a deal. Like, Reese definitely overreacted in that
Most
scenario.
definitely. He was cuz he got caught,
And even
he knew
Cassian
he
was
was in
like, well,
trouble.
we're pissed off at her. And I was like, are you mad at her? I was like, I don't think that you should be mad at her either.
Mm.
You guys
Mm-mm.
should have said something.
No, and
Um,
Nesta was right as her sister. I mean, I know it kind of exploded and it kind of happened
yeah.
impulsively, I would say, but it happened at least it happened. At least someone fucking told her. And Nesta really appreciated that. And I think Nesta had did what she would have wanted someone else to do. In my
Absolutely. And
Yes.
Feyre handled that beautifully, way better than I ever could. I think that's why I like Nesta, because I was like, yeah, that's something. That sounds like me.
Mhm.
Because Feyre handles everything very rationally, and I can't relate.
Mhm. Yeah, she's so gentle about it.
She really is. She
She
was
knows
like,
how to handle her
well,
emotions.
I don't love how I found out about it, but now we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Reese is in the doghouse. That motherfucker. How could he?
He was such a dick in this book. It made me really. I was just a little sad because I love Reese.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all love Reese.
Mm-hmm.
He was just
Yeah.
hard to deal with.
I agree. This book, he was kind of despicable. Um, I wanted to touch on her friendship with Emery and Gwen.
Mm-hmm.
That is, oh my God. I just love, so Gwen is the first one to sign up for training with Nesta and Cassian. And a couple other priestesses go, and then Emery, so she sends Emery like some spices and stuff as like,
Oh, and she made that snarky comment. She was like, I just didn't think you were a coward.
yeah.
And it was like, it was very just, it was a small comment. But
Yeah.
her and Emery, I think, are kind of similar in that way, where that was just the push that Emery needed. And I love
Yeah.
those three. They make a wonderful dynamic.
Oh my God, I know. I love them together, and they talk about books, and they talk about, smut and whatnot, like the books that they read, and it's
I love Gwen because I think she's what I wish Elaine was, because she's super sweet and polite like Elaine, but she's
yeah.
also absolutely a badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and
Elaine wishes
useful.
she could be
She's,
Gwen.
like, Gwen was also traumatized and, started to train, and I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
She's great.
Yeah,
They're
she
great.
had the initiative to do something about it.
I didn't think I
And
was gonna like their little sleepover either, but I did.
I love their little sleepover. So they made little friendship bracelets, and they made a promise to each other to always find their way back to each other no matter what. Oh, and it comes back to play later, but that made my heart feel warm, and it made me smile because I love that for Nesta. Because she doesn't even have that with her sisters. And it's like, this book is very much centered around found family, and I love that. Nesta very much finds her family. Um, and it's not just the family that Feyre built for herself that she's now a part of. Like, she made, her own other little family, and it's just so sweet to see that and to watch her build herself up to that point.
Yeah, I really like the female empowerment in this book.
Yes.
There was a lot of
Yes.
it. I loved it. Okay, so, oh, the part where they go looking for the mask, and they're in the
Mm-hmm.
bog of Orid or whatever.
Yeah, or yeah.
There's a Kelpie. I'm pretty sure the Kelpie is in Crescent City.
Oh, for real?
That's one of those tidbits. Yeah, that's so kind of like we were talking before we started this. There are parts of this book that definitely feel like a device, and kind of like you can tell that we're setting up for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So these little side quests that they're doing in the book work, but they do kind of throw me off just a little. Nothing crazy. It still flows
Mm-hmm.
really well.
Mm-hmm.
But the Kelpie, I'm like 99% sure is in Crescent City. I'll have to go back through, but I think that's another little tidbit. Also, the red star or whatever that Reese sees in
Yeah.
this book, and he's like, "Oh, it's a bad omen."
Mm-hmm.
That is tying into the third book of Crescent City. It has something to do with, that's where he starts to realize that there's like, he's starting to think about, are there other, universes or something like that. He's like, is there something beyond where we are? So that's
Oh,
a tie-in.
shit.
Fun fact, yeah, I watched a little interview on that, and I was like, oh,
God.
this is gonna get so cool. I'm really excited for the third book of Crescent City, just because it's a crossover episode, and who doesn't like a good crossover?
We for real love it. Oh my God. Oh my God. She is so good at what she does. I can't wait to see her put
She's
that all
really good
together.
at
I
world
really.
building. I cannot stress that enough. She is so great at world building.
Mm-hmm.
Throne of Glass isn't my favorite. I think because I read this series first. Had I been younger and found Throne of Glass, I think I would have gone absolutely ape shit for it. It is good. It
Yeah.
is. I'm not saying it's not good. It's great. But when you read the other ones first, it's a little hard to like drop into that one.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of character building in that one.
Mm.
Like, I don't know how she does it. I could not keep track. There's no way.
Oh God.
There's just no way. It's
I
great.
love
Good
that.
for her. She's so good at
She's
it.
really good at building strong female characters and not putting them in the shadow of the male characters. Like they don't
Yes.
make them weak. They give everyone their own strengths and you know what I mean? Yeah.
Except Elaine. This is
That's
just,
none of my business though.
you know, I will say
So,
that until we are done with this series, how much I
mm,
dislike that character. Oh,
mhm.
so my favorite part, um,
Yeah.
my favorite part, um, after they have that, they go to the ball under the mountain and she has to dance with Eris and it's, God, she knows what she's doing.
Yes, she works him.
Yeah. Flash forward to their solstice at the house, the winter solstice at the house, and he's got that gift for her, that little speaker essentially, you know, where he like
Symphonia? Yeah.
he went and recorded a bunch of music for her, and I'm just like, it's really sweet. And
That.
she's just like, no, I can't accept this because she doesn't feel deserving of it. And
Mhm.
he's like, they start getting into a fight, and she's like, no, I'm gonna marry Eris, and he's like, what the fuck? And that
Where's this
part where
coming from?
she's like, no, Eris is the, he's like, right, because I'm just like a brute, a bastard brute, and she's like, no, Eris is the brute, and I would marry him because I am just like him. And
Mhm.
made my eyeballs sweat.
Mm.
I got
I
real
get
watery
it.
there. I was like, that's really, yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
she just like breaks down completely and she's just, she's like, I'm just not good like you. And that
Mhm.
was, when she finally just like, and that's even after they went on that hike and she really like let a lot of stuff out.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I definitely cried when she had her breaking point on the hike. I thought that was such a sweet part of the book where you really get to see what at least I figured was under Nesta the whole time, I'm like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
she definitely let her shell kind of soften a bit there. But that part where they're just like, she's just in front of Cassian and she's just like, I don't deserve you. And he's crying. And then they're just like, he's just like, there will be no one else ever. And she's like, yeah. Because they're kind of just accepting the fact that they're mates. And it was just really precious.
It was. Well, so first Nesta, Cassian was like, dude, just admit it, we're mates. And she's like, that's just a word, dude. Like, she wasn't. And then later she's like, she's fighting on a mountain, and this guy's like, you really think you can beat me at hand to hand combat? And this is the first time she admits that she is Cassian's mate. And she goes, yeah, my mate taught me well. And I was like, fuck yeah, he did. Yeah,
Oh
he's your mate.
yeah,
He did
after
that.
they like have their moment and then they're like walking out on the street of the city and he's like trying to hold her hand or something and she's like, people will see, and she kind of like gets nervous at being called mates, and I want to be like, oh, that's just really unreasonable, like she was being unreasonable, but I think it has a lot to do with the fact that like she has a hard time adjusting to the fact that like when you're raised to hate something so much your whole life and then you're just thrown into that is now your life, you are the
Hmm.
thing that you were raised to hate, and you're still trying to process it all, you didn't have a choice, it happened really really fast. It's a lot to take in. So like,
Hmm.
I'm not saying that like their hatred was ever justified, either. Anyway, it's just that is a lot to process. So I can
Hmm.
see why she would be hesitant about being called mates, um, because she was like, well, we're called husband and wife, like it's just weird to me. She was just having a hard time, and he's like, well, I didn't ask to be shackled to you either, and I was like, oh, those were the wrong words.
Oh my God. I know. I wrote that. He doesn't like being shackled down to her either. And I was like,
He
Jesus,
regretted that
Cassian,
immediately,
as he should.
and I think that that's, again, that's why they're so perfect, because they definitely both tend to like say things with a bit of a bite to it
Mm-hmm.
unintentionally. But she had such a good, that was such a moment to really show how far her character had developed, because instead of lashing back out at him like she would normally to like wound back, she was
Mm-hmm.
like, I just need you to get away from me, and like calls in their bargain, and she's
Yeah.
like, get away.
Mm-hmm.
I will see you when I've calmed down. And I was like, that was really mature. Good for
Yes, it
you. That
was.
was
That was,
really
yeah.
mature. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to wound him. She was like, I need a minute. And then she goes and has a sleepover with her girls. And then they
Mm-hmm.
get kidnapped and forced to go into the blood rite, which I loved that whole part of the book. I thought that was so cool.
I kind of want to say that was one of my favorite parts of the book because so
Yeah.
all three of them are against all of these men and they beat their fucking asses. You already knew they would.
They haven't even
And
been brought up in the Illyrian camps. Like, they are
mhm,
complete newbies. They were
mhm.
separated. Oh,
And boy, so their brace Nessa's bracelet was guiding her to where they were because they made a promise to always find each other
she was
no matter
smart to
what.
do that, though. She knew. She was like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna, because, like, she knew she could make objects.
Mhm.
She was like, so I'm gonna do that. And I was like, smart girl.
Yes. Oh.
I am confident that they would have found each other without those, though.
Mm.
But I loved that. And I love that that just kind of, was just a nice little tidbit of luck.
Mhm.
Um, and boy, they really like the part where she has to go get Emery, and like, there's no way. Okay, I hate camping. I I would die in the blood right immediately, if not by
Mm.
myself or somebody else. Like, there's no way
Yeah, I
I
would
cannot.
mm.
I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
It's snowing. She had just a nightgown. She killed somebody for clothes, and then
Mhm.
she like finds Emery in a frozen creek or something, has to take off all of her clothes. So they're like naked, strapped to each other. She's like carrying all their stuff and Emery
Mhm.
to safety. And I was like, God damn, like that is a completely different person than when we first
That's
meet
I
Nesta. Like,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Oh,
that's some Feyre
I
shit.
loved watching her work to find her friends and get through the mountain. Um, so this guy Bellius, who was Emery's cousin. Okay, so at the Blood Rite, you don't get powers. They dampen your powers. There's no weapons or anything. But this Bellius man, he sabotaged and he planted weapons in there. And
That was
I don't know where I was going
weird.
with that, but he did that.
Oh,
And
it's because of the queen.
yeah, so the queen arranged to have Nesta put in the right.
That was
Um,
also a weird like side quest thing. Is like all of this other stuff is going on with her and Cassian, and then you've got the queen, one of the six queens, who it was the one that was turned old because
yeah.
she went in after Nesta into the
Hmm.
cauldron, and she's just so pissed because Nesta took all the good stuff, and now
Hmm.
she's an old bitch,
Yeah.
and she's looking for Nesta for her own selfish vengeance. It's
Hmm.
really weird and kind of just superficial, but
Hmm. Hmm.
And so she like has the crown and is controlling like Bellius and some other people, and
She gets Cassian too.
she does get Cassian. And oh my god, the part where he like shows up on the mountain and like, first of all, the girls decide that they're just gonna go ahead and win the whole thing. They're like, we're just gonna
Hmm.
climb the mountain, fuck this. So they
Hmm.
team up. Gwen gets super injured, but like, Gwen is smart. Like that part where,
Yes.
yeah, like she's a smart girl. Um,
Hmm.
so Nesta decides to like, because they've got, a bunch of dudes coming to hunt them down. She holds the ground and lets those two go finish the whole thing, which I
Hmm.
loved. Um,
Hmm.
and she's holding out until dawn, and Cassian shows up, and there's just this whole brawl with like the queen and Bellius, and then Cassian is being controlled by the queen, and the part where she's like, kill, and he twists the knife to himself because he's just like, I'm not gonna kill her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
Oh,
no.
that.
Wow. And the part
Loved it.
where like the sun, it's finally dawn, and so she gets all of her magic back and just explodes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
Oh,
Well,
so cool.
oh,
She's
I
so
have no
cool. I was like,
words.
why are
I
you
have
so
no words.
cool? She's so cool.
She
And
did that.
she just like sucks. She unmakes the queen. Like she just sucks the life out of the queen. And I thought that that
Yeah.
was pretty badass. And Cassian's just laying on the ground, and she's like, "Oh shit, he's dead." And he's like, "No, I just thought I would lay low until you were done." I was,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's
Uh,
really funny.
Loved that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was a whole good part. And that's when
It's very
they
good.
go back, and Feyre's having the baby that nobody wanted to tell her was gonna kill her.
Right.
And it's just
Right.
okay. So this part is giving me Twilight. I hate to say it because I
So like,
what is it with these traps? Stop.
so
Twilight did
like,
it. We didn't need to do it again. I didn't like it then.
mm-hmm.
I don't like it now.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had suggested, like, because again, I was, I'm always curious about other people's opinions on this. But somebody said that they were like, well, I wish they would have done more of like what Twilight did instead of taking away her bodily autonomy, just like telling her about it and then she choosing to go through with it and holding on to hope. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, but at the same time, like, I don't like that either because then that would be exactly like Twilight. So I bet that that's
Yeah.
why it didn't go that way. I
Yeah.
have a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Reese is just losing his mind. And I don't know if that's maybe what it was originally, and then that's really close to Twilight, personally.
Mm.
I hate to say
Yeah.
that. But she's
Yeah.
just, like, on the bed, looking like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Blood and guts galore. She's dying.
Reese is
Reese is a
dying.
fucking mess. Everybody's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And Nesta has her redemption, which I don't think I don't want to call that redemption because I feel like she had redeemed herself at this point, and I don't even think she
Yes.
had that much to redeem herself from. So she said mean things to people and then ran up a tab at a bar. There are worse
Mm-hmm.
things that you can do.
That's true.
She
Yeah.
apologized,
Mm-hmm.
and
At
she
least
apologized,
she said sorry.
and she said sorry to Amryn beforehand too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So she had apologized and was doing her own thing at this point. So I don't really think she required redemption, but this was her redemption moment. She gets all three objects of the trope. So she gets the crown, the mask, and the harp, and wields them all to like stop time, and then offers to give back everything she took from the cauldron to
Mm-hmm.
save Feyre and the baby. And she does, and somehow in the mixture she also reshapes her anatomy too, in case like her and Cassian want to have kids, which I was like, okay, that's again a device, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she saves the day, and Elaine's sitting in the corner doing nothing,
She does.
and yeah, and then Reese is just like all of a sudden just so he was very thankful, and I get it. He kind of turned back to being old Reese after that, which I appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And he like just wouldn't. There's that part where he like wouldn't quit buying her gifts and stuff like that because she saved the day and
Yeah.
all that jazz. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
The, uh,
I didn't
the
like the birth
name.
scene.
Ow. You didn't like it? I thought it was very gory. I loved the details she put into that. Like the
It
amount of
just was
blood
giving
loss.
Twilight. That's my only thing. I was
Yeah.
just like, this is just like Twilight.
Yeah. No, it's valid for real.
I love that she finally says "I love you" to Feyre, though. Not that she didn't
Yeah.
love her sister. She just, I don't think, she was fueled by
Yeah.
spite and anger. So that'll
That's true.
do a lot. But Feyre's so understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about her. She really gives everybody the benefit of the doubt. She like understands why people feel the way they do. And especially with Nesta, because when you first meet Feyre, Feyre can be a little bit spicy too. And she gets that from her sister.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to add, but when we were talking about her mom,
Hmm.
okay, so her mom said that Elaine will marry for love and Nesta will marry for vengeance, or no, conquest. She would marry for conquest. And I was like, God, that is so Nesta. That is
It
so Nesta.
really is,
And
though.
that also really kind of um I don't know if the word explain is the right word to use, but it kind of, okay, I guess I'm going to say it sheds light on the relationship she had with her mother and how her mom impacted her as a person. Like her mom taught her how to use her body and her mind to get what she wanted. And that's what she did. So,
Yeah.
I,
I want more background
yeah,
on the mom, actually. She sounds horrible.
yeah, god awful. Yeah,
Horrible.
yeah.
Um,
So,
I really want this to be a TV show, and I don't know if they're ever gonna make it. They had like
so she
announced it, but I
announced,
don't know if it's in like development hell or if it's just not gonna happen. Also, if it does,
yeah,
can I play Morgan, please? Um,
she announced it like years ago. I want to
in
say 2 or 3 years
2021,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I know. I
Like
think
what the
it
fuck?
must be in like development hell or something.
Hmm. But I think I would make a really good Amaranth.
I agree. I
I
think you
just
would.
love her.
Yeah. I was
I
like, can
think
I
I
get on
would.
the cast here, please?
Hmm.
I'll take
Hmm.
anything at this point. I'll be
Yeah.
Tamlin. Kidding.
That fucker.
Um,
Oh my god. So really really quick,
uh-huh.
she encountered Tamlin when they were on the spring court's lands.
Oh
He
my
came
god, she
out
was
and
such a
she
bitch to him,
pointed
and I
at
love
him
him.
and he like balked. He was intimidated. She
He
goes,
was
"Well, I'm
like, put
glad
that
you
finger
remembered.
down.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember what happened to the last point." And I pointed. You know what?
The person I
I'm
pointed at, yeah.
yes. I'm
I love
mixing
that.
up my
Yeah, when
words,
you're.
but I was like, Nesta is that bitch,
She is.
and you better
She is
believe it.
such a good, like, what do they call it? Courtier? Or court. I don't know. She's just really good with the politics. And,
Yeah,
like,
that she
God,
is.
she's so
Mm-hmm.
good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, like, finally Cassian starts to, like, kind of pick up on some of her, on how to, like, talk to people in the courts. Because Azrael was gone a lot in this book.
He was. Yeah, he was.
Morgan was too.
Yeah, Morgan was gone a lot of the time too.
I want a book on them.
Yeah,
I swear
yeah.
to
I
God, if
miss
the
Morgan.
next ACOTAR book is Elaine's story, I'm gonna be so cranky. I'll read it, and it'll be good, but I'll be cranky
Yeah,
because there's
yeah.
no way she's gonna be redeemable for me. There's just no way.
Yeah, no, I really hope I want to I want to hope that she knows she can't do that.
Please don't do that to
I don't
us. We
think
don't
there's
care.
not in my opinion there's not a whole lot
I
Elaine
don't
can
know if it
offer
would
at
just.
this
I would
point.
assume that it would go back to Feyre, or
Yeah.
like back to kind of like how in the fourth book it's just everybody kind of jumping around, and she does that with the other books too. Like,
Mhm.
and in Crescent City in the second book, it's not all Bryce. You can go off like she goes off on stuff with the other ones anyway. So I think maybe it'll be something like that. I'm hoping where we can just incorporate everybody, give me a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Because, Farrah's still got that curse to break on that one queen, on Vasa. Um,
Mhm.
I'll, before we're done here, I thought it was really weird that the bone carver showed her son without wings, and she was like, was he just showing me what I wanted to see? And I want to know if maybe her son shapeshifts, maybe she's going to have a second one. Also, I'm
Good point.
salty that
Yeah.
it was. I wish she would have had a daughter, and I wish that the daughter would have been an heir. Like, why does it have to be a son and an heir? Like, Reese would very much be very happy to shift his crown to his daughter.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm like, can we get that instead? That'd be really cool. If it
Yeah,
had a
I was
daughter and that was the heir. to the night
And then get
court.
her story? I would shit my pants.
Oh my
Oh, that would
god.
be so
That'd be
good.
so
I'm begging.
cool. That would be so cool. That's
Yeah,
what I
for
wanted.
real.
If I could change anything, it's that. I'm like, don't have a son, have a daughter, and she be the heir.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
I also didn't want to like the name Nyx, but I do think it's kind of cute.
I think it's so
I was like,
cute.
that's kind of cute.
Yeah, it's cute as fuck. So everyone's happy, everyone's alive and well.
Yeah,
So,
and then there's gonna be the crossover.
which who knows when we'll get that? Don't hold your breath.
No, it should be relatively soon. Like it's,
Like within the year?
I don't know, within the year. I would assume next year at the latest. At least by the way it sounds, but I don't know. Maybe that's wishful thinking.
I want it right now, though.
I do too.
No, I need
God.
time. I need time to fucking read the Crescent series. I got the
Me
first book
too.
back there. She's staring at me.
What do we want to do for next week? Do you want to find a Carlton Mellick novel to read real quick?
You want to do Tender as the Flesh?
Yeah, we can do Tender as the Flesh.
Okay, so I would like to do Tender as the Flesh. I've also compiled a little list of other freaky books. There's, I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you. But I've got some freaky ones. But I would like to do Tender as the Flesh
I would love
first.
to talk about Tender as the Flesh. I can go over that this week. It's a short read.
Yeah, perfect.
So
Okay,
it's a
sweet.
good book.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you everybody for watching / listening. We will be back next week with Tender as the Flesh. So yeah. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.